It's tougher every week. So once again, from a secret, undisclosed location hidden somewhere deep in the bowels of downtown St. John's, Newfoundland, comes in the Library of Graphic Literature with your host, Dustin Wallace Ryan. Dustin Norway, and spinning his rack. The Dustin and the spinning. Okay, so sorry a bit late with this week's episode, but it's been nuts. So today, what are we going to do today? What will we do today? Well, today is going to be a special day because today we're going to be talking about the Warren Archives. Surely one of my the gems of my collection, I think. The Warren magazine started back in 1957, as a matter of fact, with a publication called After Hours, and they moved on to the famous monsters of Movieland and even Help. And in '64, they came out with a magazine called Creepy. It was followed by a very short-lived magazine called Blazing Combat. And then in '66 came Eerie, its sort of sister magazine. And last but not least came good old Vampirella. So, these were the Warren magazines. One thing I got to say about the Warren magazines. There were several other magazines. They did a Spirit, Comix International, 1984, 1994, the Rook, and I think they finally ended up in 1983 was when they went belly up. But the comic world had changed by that point. But when I was a kid growing up, the Warren magazines were kind of like a forbidden fruit. They were comic books, but they had like nudity in them and stuff like that. So they were a little bit risque, shall we say. But what I loved about them, and what everyone loved about them, was the art. The art was absolutely fabulous, especially in the earlier editions. We'll start out here with Creepy. Have a look at this. Through the years, Warren had people, everyone from Neil Adams, Gene Colan, Frank Frazetta, Gray Morrow, Al Williamson, Reed Crandall, Alex Toth, John Severin, Wally Wood, Johnny Craig, Rich Corbin, which is where he really made his bones. The very, very underrated Tom Sutton, Bernie Wrightson, Esteban Morato, Jose Gonzalez, Alex Nino, Rudy Nebrez, Alfredo Aquila, Pablo Marcos. And when it came to writers, was everyone, as a matter of fact, I had to make a note for this because I was trying to think of the writers as much, but I know there was Archie Goodwin, Nick Cuddy, Bruce Jones, Doug Munch, Don McGregor, of course, Stephen Skeets, and they're basically the big guns anyway. But the art was to me what it was all about, and especially in the first few issues they had. It was like a who's who at the time. They had basically Reed Crandall, George Evans, Gray Morrow, Angelo Toros, Al Williamson. It was a really who's who of the artistic world back then, and it was great. They sort of fell on hard times, and they sort of got a bit cheaper, and then they went elsewhere. Actually, which was a good thing in the end because they went to Spain, and they picked up all kinds of great artists from there and introduced them to an American audience. And they also eventually went, to the Philippines for people like Alex Nino and Aquila and all them, and just amazing art. That's the one thing I gotta say about the Warren magazines. Bloody amazing artwork. Here for one, here's this is the famous story by Frank Frazetta, beautifully drawn. Absolutely stunning. Then of course you had people here like this is Gray Morrow, who a lot of people may not be familiar with, but was he was one of the actually he was the co-creator of Man Thing. Then Al Williams and all these great artists from back then who were just fresh out of the 50s. Angela Toro's great artist. So yeah, so some really great stuff. Reed Crandall, I mean, it was it really was a who's who or a who's what of the comic book art form at the time. Now I've gone through and I've picked out a few of my favorite stories. I mean, I could spend all day here going through every one of these books and picking out stories, but I figured, seeing how I only have so much time, that I'd spend it wisely, and I'd pick the best that I could find, or at least the ones that really meant something to me. Okay, let's start here. What do we have here? Oh yeah, here we have this is from Don McGregor and Luis Garcia. This story here, this is from issue, I think it was 43. This actually had dropped one of these cards that was left in the back of it. This actually had the first interracial kiss in mainstream comics right there. Funny enough, Don McGregor was to go on and produce the first interracial kiss in mainstream color comics in Killraven. But yeah, so I mean, this goes to show you how ahead of its time Creepy and Eerie were. People like Jerry Grandinetti, that's another classic person. There are so many people. It's just I just lose it sometimes trying to keep up with all the different people. Even Frank Brunner, Dave Cockrum started out there. All kinds. So let's put this back up there and haul out another one. Now this comic here, this story that I'm about to show you is by Bernie Wrightson and Bruce Jones, I do believe. I think it is. And I can remember reading this as a kid, and it scared the crap out of me. Well, not as a kid, as a teenager. And it was one of the most amazing horror stories that I'd ever seen at that point. It's called Jennifer, with only one N. And it starts out with this hunter coming upon some guy about to chop the head off some poor woman. They get in a fight and he ends up killing them. And then he actually helps her up, and this is what he's confronted with. This is Jennifer. So, he's feeling sorry for it all, poor woman, and takes her to his house, and it just gets creepier and creepier from there. Still, even today when I read it, it still gives me the heebie-jeebies. It was a great combination of art and story there to really, scare the crap out of you. Right? Okay, now what else do we have up here? We have lots, people. We have lots. Like I said, I could be at this all day long. Oh, hang on a second. Let me have some of my tea here. Hope everyone's doing well too during the COVID. I still haven't caught it yet. Now this one, I have a couple of Mark stories here. One of my favorite by Jerry Boudreau and Alex Toth is The Phantom of Pleasure Island, and this is about a killer who's stalking a carnival, shooting people, a fair type of thing, with the Ferris wheels and the like. Beautifully, and of course, beautifully drawn. I mean, Alex Toth. I don't need to say any more. Alex Toth, Alex Toth, Alex Toth. Oh, he didn't appear. Well, yeah, absolutely amazing. Love the layout. Absolutely stupendous. Now, the other one from around the same time that was also very big for me. And there was Wally Wood and some Wally Wood work. like I say, it's page after page. John Severin here, for instance, all kinds of great stuff. But now here was one of the coolest ones for me at the time. This one was called Thrill Kill, and it's funny because this has become, and it's funny how shocking this was at the time, and how commonplace it's become these days. But Thrill Kill, it's the story of with great art by Neil Adams too, by the way. Great beautiful gray tones about a sniper getting up on a building, and he's just shooting people left, right, and center, and having a good time at it and all that. And goes through his backstory, everything like that, until the very end, which I'm not going to show you because I don't want to ruin the story for you. But what an amazing story, Thrill Kill! That's when I realized what these guys were up to with these. Like I say, as I got into my teen years, I really began to collect and read Eerie and Creepy. Now, of course, had to keep them out of the way of the parents, because if they had seen them, they would have taken them away for sure. And here's a story and art by Alex Toth, which is this really cool UFO story of his. And it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, the simplicity of Toth just gets me every time. Absolutely cool story here. There we go. I mean, it was cool. Oh, there's some John Severin into some John. Oh, and there's some Corbin. Actually, I left one out in the hallway there because it's part of my daily reading, and it had an all Corbin issue in it. Now, some of them were reprints and all that, but I like that too. They had some cool collected issues like that. Now, and let's go on to volume 18 of the Creepy Archives. So glad that Dark Horse actually, because a few years ago when they were putting these out, they'd slowed them down and we weren't seeing any new ones. And they were only like 3 or 4 short of completing the set. And of course, all of us who, own copies of it and all that and were collecting it went haywire, because, it was just like, hey, we've been collecting these for all these years. And to give them credit, they brought them back and they finished off the set. So thank you, Dark Horse Comics. Now this is one here, Creepy. This one I can remember buying like it was yesterday. This was an All Mars issue, and this had art from Dick Gordana, Carmine Infantino, Gray Morrow, Ralph Reese, Mark Salvador, John Severin, and Bernie Wrightson. So they're very, very cool. This is the Bernie Wrightson one. I always liked. This was probably my favorite of it. It's almost like a poem. Beautifully done. And like I say, lots more cool John Severin, lots more cool artwork where that came from. So yeah, another great one. Oh, let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, we'll go into Eerie here for a second. Oh, here we go. And this is now the volume 1 of the Eerie Archives. I started with that just because there were some great comics in this. An Alex Toth, Archie Goodwin story, Vision of Evil. Of course, like I say, amazing artwork as usual. I mean, come on. Simplicity is simplification is sophistication. That's why Toth and people like him are so darn sophisticated. Now, of course, this is another Goodwin story with Eugene Colan, or Gene Colan as we came to know him, Hatchet Man. And this is a cool Hatchet story. Of course, being by Gene Colan, and he did a few stories for them. All of them beautiful, beautiful stories. Done usually in a gray wash, but I mean, I could see. I mean, when I started reading Tomb of Dracula, and then I'd seen some of his work. Like, here's another one by him and Goodwin. I could see why they chose him for the Dracula. He has this beautiful mystery, this fogginess, this mistiness to his work. No one could draw mist like Gene Colan. No one. And anyone who says any different, they're gonna have to face me. I can feel people shaking their boots already. So, and now, of course there was Vampirella. Wasn't a big Vampirella fan. I mean, although as a teenage boy, I loved the costume. But what I like about this is there's some great early work by Tom Sutton, for instance. Here's one Vampirella story by him. Absolutely beautiful, beautifully done. The Curse here by Wally Woodley. So some of the early issues of Vampirella had some great cartoonists in it. Including, believe it or not, The Boy Who Lived, Who Loved Trees. It's a story by Gardner Fox and Barry Smith with art by Barry Windsor Smith. Yeah, very early on. So yeah, cool stuff. And like I say, went down different artists. Jose Gonzalez became more or less identified with it, and there were other people too who did some great artwork throughout the years. And that, like I say, once again, that's the great thing about all the Warner. This looks to be like a Jeff Jones piece. Yeah, art and story by Jeff Jones. Check it out. See, I'm still working my way through the archives. Actually, I'm at Eerie and Creepy, so this is kind of like I knew there'd be little finds like this in among it. So yeah, great stories. That bro, Jose Gonzalez. He probably did the most amazing stories. Gonzalez, just absolutely stunning work. Did beautiful. He really did a beautiful Vampirella. I mean, amazing artwork. This here, now here we have a Mike Plug, for instance. There you go, see? He jumped from great artist to great artist. And I mean, this, absolutely stunning, love it. And then, of course, back to Tom Sutton. Tom Sutton doesn't get enough love out there, you know. I think he was one of the most underrated artists of the '70s. He did just amazing work, and and like I say, it's just like I don't know. I mean, I know there were people out there who are like myself, fans of Tom Sutton and all that, but yeah, just never seemed to gain the traction of of a Jim Sterling or other people. But he did one story, actually. It was a Doctor Strange story that he did by himself that was absolutely stunning. Whew. Actually kind of warm here today. And I'm going to finish off actually with their controversial war magazine, Blazing Combat. Excuse me. Now, they were forced by the U.S. Army eventually to nix this. They only got, was it 3 or 4 issues out, I think it was in the end. I'm pretty sure it was 4, actually, now that I think about it. See, the only thing about this was I wish they had placed the, yeah, there we go. Here are the covers. I wish they had placed these throughout the magazine, this book. This was from Fantagraphics many years ago. But this, I mean, the art, of course, in this too is just amazing. You have everyone from George Evans, Joe Orlando, Angela Toros, Gray Morrow, Reed Crandall, John Severin, Alex Toth, Gene Colan, Alex Toth, Wally Wood, and so on. I mean, just absolutely, and Russ Heath. Absolutely amazing stories. This one is definitely worth picking up if you can find it. Just, well, the stories are amazing, but it's a very historical comic in a lot of ways. It was I mean, it was put out during the Vietnam War, and it wasn't a wasn't cheering on the war effort or anything like that. This was part of the war is hell movement of comics. So I mean, some of the stories in this were just absolutely amazing. And artwork by Severin, like I say, Crandall, the best of the best, Al Williamson. Absolutely stunning. And of course, my favorite, once again, Alex Toth. I know I've gone Toth crazy here today, but why shouldn't I? He was bloody amazing. So yeah, definitely worth picking up if you can find it. I've seen it out there in soft covers, so I'm sure you can still pick it up. And written, of course, mainly by, I should mention that too, was Archie Goodwin. As a matter of fact, I think he wrote Toth and Goodwin. He wrote the majority of them anyway. I actually got to meet Archie Goodwin in '88, I think it was, when I was in New York City and did an interview with him. And at Marvel Comics, beautiful man. Had a great interview with him, and yeah, it was sad to see he passed on there many years ago. But amazing writer, and I mean he also, like I say, wrote a lot for the Eerie and Creepy, and like I say, they're just amazing. I could go on for hours and hours talking about every single episode, every issue, and picking ones out. But I figured today I'd just pick out a few of my favorite. Okay, that being said, now I will try to get out another episode before the end of the week, just because we missed one last week. I feel really bad about that. I was actually working on a little comic project that sort of overwhelmed me, but I stuck to it, and I wrestled it to the ground, and I drew the crap out of it. And of course, these I always post to our page for you to see. But yeah, I'll be picking out something now to peruse and to to think about and pass on my love to you folks. Just one thing too is my buddy Jason at his comic book store, he got the latest invoice for the first round of comics in weeks, and so that'll be good. So comics are slowly coming back. Don't buy from that DC distributor. They're screwing the business. Anyways, that being said, it's time for me to flee the scene. Okay, take me away. Bye, love you.